are just a few seconds from rolling into the 6 o'clock hour. You're locked into Breakfast Television on this Tuesday morning. We'll take a look at a gorgeous forecast, courtesy Michelle McDougall, coming up in a few minutes. Right now, though, we're going to dive into the stories making headlines at this hour. Joe Oliver delivering his first budget as finance minister today in a move that many say will unofficially kick off the federal election campaign. Oliver picking up a pair of New Balance running shoes. He says that symbolizes the Conservatives' first balanced budget in 8 years. Opposition critics say that the Tories will need to move to neutralize the consequences of cuts to spending programs. However, Oliver insists this budget will focus on a good balance of creating jobs while cutting taxes for all Canadians. Our mayor is hoping that Ottawa will help fulfill Edmonton's wish list. Don Iveson says he would like to see the federal budget include funding to expand the city's LRT system. Money for the first stage of the Valley Line is secure. However, Iveson would like to see the LRT connect to West Edmonton Mall.
So whether it's subways and GO trains in Toronto or more LRT in Edmonton, across the country, the big city mayors have been saying this. We're looking for $1 billion a year commitment from Ottawa on an ongoing basis so that we can all start to build out our rapid transit systems across the country.
City's also calling for money to help fix and expand the Yellowhead Trail. Mayor would like to see the feds step up on social housing as well. Well, desperate times calling for desperate measures. That's the message that school trustees are sending out to protest recent funding cuts. 19 public and Catholic school boards gathering in Edmonton and Calgary to express their concerns. They warn budget cuts and increased enrollment will mean larger classes and fewer services. 3,000 new students are expected in Edmonton public schools come September, with another 1,800 slated to join the Catholic schools.
Student success is at risk, and our most vulnerable students will be impacted the most. Funding cuts will be devastating for our First Nation, Métis, and Inuit students, English language learners, and students with special educational needs.
In Edmonton Public, we expect to have to absorb 2,500 to 3,000 new students in the system next year. Even at the low end, that's equivalent to 100 new classrooms full of new students.
Meanwhile, Education Minister Gordon Dirks firing back, saying the school boards have about $460 million in reserved funds combined if they need to cover the cost of those funding cuts. Well, the Wild Rose proposing a cure for what it calls an ailing healthcare system. Leader Brian Jean says the Tories have failed to properly manage health. He says the Wild Rose vision will cut wait times when it comes to surgeries. He says the plan is partly inspired by his own experiences as he lost his son just weeks before the election call.
No family should have to go through that same experience. And despite the talents of our frontline staff, I watched my son lay dying, being shuffled through layers and layers of bureaucracy and paperwork.
Elsewhere on the campaign trail Monday, NDP leader Rachel Notley says she will cancel a hike in the province's mortgage tax if elected premier.
Jim Prentice is building a new fence before families even get into their new home. And that's not what a good neighbor does. And it's not what a good government does either.
Meanwhile, PC leader Jim Prentice was campaigning in Fort McMurray yesterday, promising to protect and boost jobs in the energy sector. Well, prevention being touted as the best way to help deal with growing concerns over post-traumatic stress disorder. PTSD taking center stage Monday at CFB Edmonton. A forum providing an open dialogue on different treatment options for military personnel and emergency responders. In the past, responders received treatment once PTSD or depression fully developed. However, new research shows that 1/3 of those who are treated don't respond to therapy or medication.
Sometimes, unfortunately, it is too late. We try with our treatments and therapies actually to give them back the normalcy, but it is actually very challenging.
If you can provide the prevention and the education to, any first responder group or military per se, I think you'll see a lot more benefit with respect to how they would deal with acute or stressful situations.
178 Canadian Forces members have taken their own lives since 2002. Well, Greyhound still doesn't have a destination set once its downtown depot closes for good. Officials will update councillors at City Hall today about that. The company has to move out of its current location as a result of the new arena. However, Greyhound have been unable to find a suitable new location. Since council rejected a zoning application to move just off the Yellowhead, the company has been working with city administration in hopes of finding that suitable space. Greyhound says its preference is a south side location. While there won't be a fence around a North End dog park right away, the city isn't giving the idea an absolute dismissal.
We have 40 different dog parks, and the administration is doing a review on the entire policy. And I think we have to be patient. We have to see what that review brings. And if there's any immediate concerns, as we've heard with Grand Trunk in particular, then we might be able to do something there sooner. But it's the entire city, it's not just one area.
A committee of dog owners asking City Council to install a fence around Grand Trunk Park. It backs onto 127th Avenue and 113A Street, two busy roads. The dog owners call the park dangerous. They claim at least 3 dogs had run off, have been killed by a vehicle in traffic. Currently, fences in multi-use parks are against city policy. Well, T-minus 46 days to go until soccer fever officially takes over Edmonton. The opening match for FIFA's Women's World Cup Canada 2015 is right here in our city. Canadian head coach John Herdman says, while Canada isn't a favorite, we will have the advantage of home turf. Canada set to take on China in that opening game.
If I could promise you a World Cup on our own, I'd tell you just to sit at home and watch it. But this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for people here. It's never coming back. In our lifetimes, this team needs you, and we need the right people in that crowd.
In addition to teeing up yesterday's game, it was announced that Sarah McLachlan and Tegan Sarah will be the opening entertainment for that June 6th showdown.